What's up, YouTube? It's Gary Brown from 313 Hoops, and today we are back with another video. And in today's video, there's a few topics that I want to talk about. The first topic being the Detroit Pistons 2022 to 2023 season schedule that they just released. The second thing I want to talk about is going to be the Draymond Green, his interest in playing for the Detroit Pistons eventually. And then lastly, I want to talk about the Rico Hines runs, where we sent out a few Detroit Pistons to go play out over there and scrimmage with some of the top players in the NBA. But yeah, before we get into that though, if you haven't already, please hit this like button and then also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Again, I'm trying to grow this YouTube channel. This is a channel based off of a lot of Detroit Pistons content, so if that interests you, definitely hit that subscribe button. The current goal is to hit 100 subscribers. I think we're like 2 or 3 subscribers away from that, so that'll definitely be awesome if we can hit 100 after this video right here. But basically, what we've got, again, we're going to talk about the 2022 to 2023 season schedule. So a few days ago, actually, I was on the Detroit Pistons Instagram, right? I was going through their story, and they were actually doing like a little prize giveaway for whoever could answer a certain question. Now, the question was, who were the Detroit Pistons going to play in the first game of the season? And I guess if you submitted your answer, you were right, then they were going to put you in a drawing, and whoever they drew out would be the winner if you got the answer right. And the prizes they had, I think I saw like an Isaiah Stewart jersey, like a signed Isaiah Stewart jersey. There was a basketball with the Detroit Pistons logo. I believe that might have been signed too. There might have been some posters and stuff. But overall, it was a lot of merchandise, a lot of things that you could get if you won the prize. And so I went over and I DM'd what my prediction was for who we were going to play in the first game. And obviously I had no idea who we were going to play. But after I sent my submission, I guess apparently it had already been leaked who the Pistons were going to play in the first game. And, I was scrolling through their post on Instagram, and I'm seeing all these comments and stuff like saying the same exact team. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they already released this. I already sent out my my prediction, which my prediction was the Chicago Bulls. And unfortunately, it was not the Chicago Bulls. So I'm not winning any jerseys. I'm not winning any Detroit Pistons basketballs, nothing signed, nothing like that, because I guessed the wrong team. But yeah, I guess it had already been leaked beforehand. And the actual team that the Detroit Pistons are going to play in the first game are the Orlando Magic. So if you guys actually participated in that and you commented and DM'd them, the Orlando Magic, hopefully you end up being one of the prize winners that they have or whatever. Because unfortunately that's not me, but hopefully one of you guys ends up winning the prize over there. So now that we know what the schedule is and we know who the first team of the season we're playing is, again, like I said, it's going to be the Orlando Magic. So the Detroit Pistons are going to face the Orlando Magic at home on October 19th, 2022. It's going to be a 7 p.m. game. And again, it's going to be at Detroit, so I really want to go to this game. I want to go to the season opener. I want to get some tickets for this game. But I actually do not know if I'm going to be out of town. I might be in Arizona that entire week. So, if I'm not out of town, if I'm not on vacation, I'm still at home, I'm going to definitely try to get some tickets. It's around my birthday. So, Jesse, if you see this and you're thinking of a good birthday present and we're not going to Arizona, definitely that Orlando Magic game. I definitely want to see that. But yeah, facing the Orlando Magic, they got Paolo Banchero, number 1 overall pick for this past draft, and then he's facing up against our guy, Cade Cunningham, who is the number 1 overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft. So that's going to be a pretty cool matchup between the 2 previous number 1 picks in the drafts, in these past few years, and, a nice little battle. And overall, when I'm looking at the schedule, I'm noticing like the first few games, we're facing all lottery teams. So we've got the Orlando Magic first, the New York Knicks, Indiana Pacers, Washington Wizards, and then the schedule starts to get a little tougher when we face the Atlanta Hawks in back-to-back home games. Hopefully, I'm thinking we could probably split the Atlanta Hawks, and if that's the case, we have a good shot at starting off this season 4-1. I think another really tough team that we're going to face is going to be the New York Knicks. Again, in my play-in prediction video or whatever, the season prediction video for the Detroit Pistons, I did say that Detroit is going to be battling it out with New York for that 10th spot. I do think it's going to come down to us, Charlotte, and New York, for that final spot. And, games like that early on in the season against New York, like, when it comes down to the end of the season, that early game against New York is going to make a big difference if we are in that area. So that'd be a big win for us, like early on, and just to kind of test ourselves, see where we're at, early on, just kind of gel and all that. But yeah, like I said, I do believe that we have a good shot at starting off at 4-1 for the season. And then from there, that's where our schedule starts to get a little bit tougher. But at the same time, like we'll be facing like top teams like Golden State, Boston. Cleveland's going to be in our schedule like in November multiple times. And we get Denver. But then we're also facing other teams like OKC. We're facing New York multiple times early on this season. And then just a lot of games that, are winnable for us. So when I compare this schedule to last year's schedule, I remember looking at last year's schedule and just being like, wow, we're not even going to win. I don't think through the first 20 games, I don't even think we won 5 games last year. Like that first 20 games, we didn't even win 5 of those first 20. And just overall, I believe our schedule is one of the toughest last season. And when I'm looking at this schedule now, we are definitely in a better position now. We have a better team. Our schedule doesn't look crazy difficult, throughout the season and stuff. So just overall, I feel like us starting off against these 4 teams, the Magic, the Knicks, Indiana, and Washington, I believe that's going to be very good for our young guys, just to kind of get accustomed and adjusted to the NBA. They get to face other lottery teams, a lot of other young teams. And then once we do play Atlanta and then we do play Golden State, we do play Milwaukee, at least we'll have a few games under our belt and we can actually start playing those guys to the best of our abilities or as good as we can for that time period. Because again, the first few games we're probably going to be definitely trying to adjust, trying to figure things out. So by the time we get to, Milwaukee and Golden State, we won't have games against tough teams that kind of keep us down and we're not figuring things out. At least here we can figure out what works. We're facing teams that are also trying to figure things out for themselves. And overall, I think this easier schedule early on, the first few games, is going to be really good for our young guys to adjust. They can make mistakes and all that and, still keep the game competitive and come out with wins against those guys. But yeah, like I was saying, throughout the season, this is going to be a really good schedule. And I actually went through each game and I just kind of made my prediction against each team that we played. And I came out with a finishing record for the end of the season. And obviously, when you predict, a team season record after going through a schedule, you're not going to get every game right. There's going to be some misses where, your team doesn't beat a team that it's supposed to. Or, games where your team beats a team that's a contender that they're not supposed to be beating. It happens. Every team is beatable. It just really depends on how competitive you're playing against that team, who's on, who's off. But overall, my prediction for the Detroit Pistons, after going through the entire schedule, ended up being 39-43. So when I did my play-in prediction, or if the Detroit Pistons are going to be a play-in team, I did come to the conclusion that we were going to be 35-47, like around there. And I do want to stick with that. I do think 39-43 is a little bit generous for the Pistons this season. And I do think we are actually going to be a little bit closer to 35-43 for our record. But like I said, when it comes to these games, it can go either way. I believe the Pistons are going to be competitive in every single game. Well, maybe not every single game, but we're going to be in the majority of the games that we play. We are going to be competitive. So it's going to come down to the wire. And, maybe we beat some teams that I don't have us beating, and then maybe we lose to teams that I do have us beating. Because, again, it's really impossible to predict an entire season schedule and who we're going to win against and who we're going to lose against. But yeah, like I was saying, I do think we will have at least over 30 wins this year. I think we're going to definitely make that jump this year. And going on from that, after seeing the schedule and actually really liking the schedule, the next thing I want to talk about is Draymond Green. So now there are talks about Draymond Green having interest in playing with the Detroit Pistons. And the thing about that is, Draymond Green, he grew up in Saginaw, ended up going to Michigan State. So he is a Michigan native. He's got a lot of, he's a very big fan of the Detroit Pistons, grew up watching them. So for him to go to Detroit and eventually play for Detroit, that would be like a childhood dream come true. When you're younger, you're watching these teams that you idolize, you love, the teams that help, make you fall in love with the sport. And then for you to eventually come back and play for that team, that is something incredible, something that's so awesome. And what I'm thinking in my head right now is, the fact that he wants to come over and play for Detroit or has any interest in Detroit means that he believes in what we are building here in Detroit. We've got a young core. He's played against them. We've heard things from guys like Kevin Durant saying that the Detroit Pistons are on the come up. And so guys like Draymond Green wanting to play in Detroit, which is actually really big because a lot of big name players don't really ever think about Detroit. So the fact that Draymond Green has interest shows that there is some belief, because he wouldn't want to leave the Golden State Warriors, a team that, has been to the finals, what was it, like 6 times in 8 years? 6 times in 8 years, winning 4 champions. Like, he's a multiple champion over there. And for him to even think about even wanting to go to Detroit, even if he doesn't go, just the interest just shows that Detroit is doing something really good over here. And he's also kind of like buying into what we're doing just because he has that interest to show. Because he wouldn't come over here if he didn't believe in us. Like, why would you waste your career in Detroit if you didn't think that we could do anything as a team? Now, as far as how I feel about the whole Draymond Green thing, me personally, I believe he's got another like a $27 million. He's like $27 million left on his contract. And I believe that ends at the end of this coming year. So if he were to join the Pistons, it would probably be around next year. And my thing about this is, again, like I said, he's on the Golden State Warriors, 4-time champion, Defensive Player of the Year. He might have been a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. And someone like that, my guess is he's going to want money. He's not going to want to take a pay cut, and that he's going to want to get paid, because I believe what it would be is that, the Golden State Warriors, they're probably going to not want to sign him back just because, again, like, he's going to want to get paid. He's getting a lot of money and all that, and he's 32 years old. Now, that's the biggest concern for me is he's 32. Like, don't take anything away from Draymond. He's a great player, great defensive player. But, at the age of 32, you're only getting older. Father Time is undefeated, and if he's making a lot of money, let's say like in 3 years, like that's probably about where the Detroit Pistons are going to be competing for championships. We're going to be title contenders probably like 3 years from now, if if the timeline plays out the way that I believe it will. In about 3 years, we'll be there. But in 3 years, he's going to be 35 years old. He's a bigger player. Typically bigger players like that, they don't last that long into their 30s. You know what I'm saying? So him making a lot of money, taking up a lot of cap space, at that old age or older age, I feel like that realistically would kind of hurt the team in a sense. But if you were to, take a pay cut, take less money, be a part of the team, I don't know if he'd be a starter at that point, in his career anymore, but, like 3 years later. But I mean, like if he were to sign like next year, yeah, definitely he'd be like on a starting rotation or something. But, the thing is, like him being there, I just feel like if he were to take a pay cut and just be more of a mentor, or even just like someone with just experience that kind of helps these younger guys out, kind of gets them to understand what it takes to be a champion, like that veteran presence on the team, I think he would be completely awesome, on the Detroit Pistons. But if we're looking to have him as like a main key player on, like the starting five, one of the, main facilitators, the main defenseman on our starting five, I don't really know how much, I'm bought into that because, again, like I said, he's 32 years old. He's not going to get really that much better. Even last year, like we started seeing like he was in like some slumps, and it wasn't until like the NBA Finals, like it might have been game 6 and even game 5, like the last 2 games where he started really to turn it up and he actually started playing really, really hard. But, overall, he's not the same Draymond that he was even 5 years ago. Like, again, he's still an amazing player, great player. But, as time goes on, he's going to continue to, deteriorate, regress, as he gets older. And, that's my biggest concern. So, like, right now, I'm not really too big of a fan of Draymond coming into Detroit unless, he does take a pay cut and he does have like that mentor role, that veteran role for our team, which I think he would be amazing at. Like that would be awesome. He's, in my opinion, he could also be a coach eventually once he retires from the league. Like he is a very smart player, very high IQ, and I think something like that would be awesome for the Detroit Pistons. But again, it's just a matter of how much money he's looking for, and if it's a very high asking price, I honestly do not think that it is worth it, especially since 3 years down the line, where I do believe we will be contenders, he's going to be a lot older there, and he's not going to be as big of a playing piece for us by that time. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, too, is the Rico Hines runs that they had. So there's like an off-season. There's a lot of different off-season leagues, off-season scrimmages and all that. And the Rico Hines one is actually really good. So the thing about Rico Hines is it's not like flashy like how you have your Drew leagues and all that. More so, this is just a lot of guys that come in, from around the league. A lot of different players, a lot of high-level players. Like you'll see guys like Paul George. I believe Siakam was over there. Fred VanVleet, I saw was over there. Stephen Curry, I heard was over there. Patrick Beverly, who is that? Scotty Barnes. All these guys are going over and playing, at the Rico Hines off-season runs. They have a lot of scrimmages. I think it's like 3-4 courts. And, they just battle it out, all these different teams, pickup teams, basically, and just, playing each other at a very, very high level. And so guys like Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, Killian Hayes was also there. And then I might be missing a few others, but I know at least those three were over at the and then Corey Joseph, too. I know those four were at least over there at the Rico Hines offseason runs. I haven't been able to find any footage of Cade Cunningham playing, but I did see a photo of him guarding Stephen Curry. Also, I saw some footage of him, or like a photo of him going for a layup, during the game that he was playing, one of the scrimmage games. And, one thing that like really catches my attention about that is the fact that the Pistons are all going over there to get better. See, now I was watching some footage of some of the Rico Hines runs, and I remember hearing Rico Hines himself saying, hey, this year we just want to have the best competition ever. We want to be competitive. We want to play hard. If we start seeing things get sloppy, we're just going to cut it. We only want to have good basketball here. And that's awesome to see because you got the best level guys pushing each other to get better. These are all guys in the offseason that don't care about the cameras. They just want to get better. They want to better their basketball skills. They want to make themselves better so that their teams have a better performance. They want to just overall get better. They're pushing themselves as hard as they can on those courts. And, that's what you got to do in the offseason. Earlier in the year or earlier in the offseason, there was like footage of Cade Cunningham training with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. Like, if you want to be one of the best players in the league, you have to be putting yourself in the position to play against the best in the offseason. And you got to be able to push yourself in the offseason. There's maybe a few guys that don't do stuff like that, like Giannis Antetokounmpo and stuff like that. But overall, you want to be pushing yourself, especially when you're a young guy. Get yourself used to playing against the best competition if you want to get to that competition, up to that level and stuff. But yeah, guys like that, Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, Corey Joseph, and Killian Hayes, the fact that they went out there, they're trying to get better. They're trying to put Detroit on the map, and that's awesome to see. I think overall, like by the time the season comes, I feel like all of these off-season workouts, all of these off-season scrimmages, them going out to play some pickup games and all that against elite level competition is going to pay off, especially since all of them are so young. Like that is a great way to adapt and to adjust and make your game better against the best competition so that when you do get into the league and you're playing teams that don't have like a Paul George or that don't have, like these younger teams, like when you're playing these younger teams, you can get your reps in, continue to, play as hard as you can. And, you've already played against the best defenseman in, the NBA. You've already tried your stuff against him and whatnot. Now you can utilize that in the league, in the NBA for that coming season. So overall, it's just awesome to see these guys are trying to get better. They're trying to do the best that they can. And, as a Detroit Pistons fan, that is awesome to see. But overall, guys, I think that's how we're going to end this video right here. I just want to know what your guys' thoughts are. Tell me about what you guys think about the Detroit Pistons schedule. If you think it's a very challenging schedule or you think it's a very good schedule for us. I know last year was really, really tough, like a really tough schedule. And that might have just been because of who we had on our roster and how young we were. I mean, we're still young, but overall, I believe this schedule is a lot better than last year for us. And then, tell me what you think about Draymond. Do you actually believe that Draymond being on the Detroit Pistons would actually benefit us? Or are you like me where you're kind of iffy with it and you're kind of leaning away from that? And then lastly, with the Rico Hines off-season runs, tell me what you think about the Pistons going out there and doing what they can to get better, playing against elite level competition. But yeah, you can see those videos and stuff on YouTube, on his YouTube channel. I'll link that in the description box below. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.